What's going on, everybody? Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks for the Samsung Galaxy A34 5G to help you make the most of the camera features. Now, as always, if you do end up wanting to learn more about this phone, be sure to check out the description, where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the macro camera. To do this, all you have to do is open the main camera app. So as you can see, we are in normal photo mode right now. Then from here, go to the more section. And as you can see, macro mode is right here. So now once you're in macro mode, you can get those nice close-up detailed images. So definitely a nice feature to have. But keep in mind, when you're done with it, be sure to go back to normal photo mode, because of course, if you try to take a normal photo in macro mode, it's not going to turn out too well. Now on the subject of the more section, which again is right here at the bottom, I want to go over some of the other modes we have. We got Pro mode. This basically allows you to manually adjust some other settings. We got Pro video, which is basically Pro mode for videos. Single take, night mode, food mode, panorama. Again, there's macro mode, super slow-mo, slow motion, and finally hyperlapse. So definitely a good variety of features here. And this actually brings me to the next thing I want to show you, which is how to customize your quick access bar. Now that's this bar right here. By default, we're gonna have fun mode, which I don't know how many people actually use this. I've never once used it besides maybe showing someone how to do it in a video, but it's basically like filters and things like that. Then there's portrait mode, which is pretty popular, regular photo mode, regular video mode, and then the more section. So if you want to add something like, say you use the macro camera all the time, but maybe you don't use fun mode. So again, we are in the more section right now. What you're going to want to do is hit the plus right here. And now you can drag and drop whatever you want. So for example, we're going to add macro mode. Drag it on here. And there we go. And I'm going to take out fun mode. And there we go. When you're done, hit save. And as you can see, it has been updated. So macro mode is right here. So definitely nice to have some options there. Now I'm going to show you the complete opposite of the macro camera, which is the ultra wide camera. Now the ultra wide camera is a bit easier to use, and it's pretty much always going to be there as long as you're in photo mode. So as you can see right now, we are in 1x. To open the ultra wide camera, simply hit the 0.5 right here. And as you can see, we can fit a lot more in the frame. To go back, just hit the 1 right here. And if you want, you don't even actually have to hit this button. You can also just zoom out like this. And there we go. Once again, we are in the ultra wide camera. And on the complete opposite end, if you want, say you want to zoom in quickly, instead of pinching like this, all you have to do is press the 2 right here. And you can also go to 4 or 10. So definitely real convenient. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to take high efficiency photos and videos. Now essentially, this is going to change the file format for your photos and videos. So while it's not really going to change the quality of the images themselves, it's going to make the files a bit smaller. So if you're taking a lot of photos or recording a lot of videos, this is going to help save a lot of space. So what you're going to do is go up here to settings. And then from here, there are two different things to turn on. The first one is right here, where it says high efficiency pictures. So toggle it on. This is going to change your photos to HEIF files from, I think it's JPEG. And again, this is really not going to change the actual picture itself, but the file size will be a bit smaller. So if you're really taking a lot of pictures, this will save space. And then for videos, high efficiency videos is right here. So toggle this on too. And with this on, instead of an MP4, the phone is going to record videos as HEVC files instead. And just like the HEIF files, it's basically just going to make the files a little bit smaller. And I feel like this is really especially good for videos because honestly, even when you're in high megapixel mode, which we're going to talk about a bit later, I've never had any issue with photos. You can take thousands of pictures and it's probably not really going to do a whole lot. Whereas with videos, you can take like a 10-minute video, and even if it's in 1080p, it still could take up a bit of space. So using HEVC files is definitely a nice thing. Now, one thing I do want to point out here is when it comes to compatibility, depending on what you're actually doing with these photos and videos, this may actually be an issue, and this really depends on what you're doing. If you're putting these pictures or videos into a photo editor or something like that, most likely you're not going to have an issue. But if you're uploading a photo from your phone directly to like a website or a specific app, then you might potentially run into some issues. I know some websites and apps specifically ask for JPGs or PNGs or something like that, so definitely pay attention to that. But if you're just using your photos and videos for like social media or sending photos directly to people or something like that, more likely than not, you can use these settings without any problem. Now I'm going to show you how to change your aspect ratio. Now we are in normal photo mode once again, and by default, like with pretty much any phone, the aspect ratio is going to be 3:4 or 4:3 in landscape mode, but we do have a few different options here. So if we go up here to this icon right here, you can go to 9:16. So this is great for something like an Instagram story or maybe a video thumbnail if you're doing it in landscape mode. Then from here, you can go to 1:1, so you can get those square photos, definitely a nice option. And then from here, you can go to full, which is the full screen. Now in the aspect ratio menu, there is one more thing I do want to talk about, and that's 3x4 at 48 megapixels. Now in case you don't know, by default, when you're taking photos with this phone in the normal camera mode, despite this phone actually having a 48 megapixel camera, it's not actually going to use the full power because for the average user, you probably don't need things to be that sharp, and using the full power of the camera does take up a bit more space. But if you really want to get a super high quality image, you can do this. So again, it's up here, 3x4 at 48 megapixels, all the way to the left. And yeah, with this on, you can get some real high quality images. Now, that being said, again, keep in mind, when you use this mode, the photos are going to be a little bit larger as far as file size goes, but if you have high efficiency photos on, in my experience, it doesn't really make an insane difference. They're like 13, 14 megabytes each. So honestly, in my opinion, if you really want to get super high quality photos and you don't want to use like 1x1 or 16:9, I would personally just use this as much as you want, especially if you have a micro SD card, because keep in mind with this phone, you can use one. But if you really want to save a lot of space and maybe you just don't really care that much about the image quality, you can always use regular mode too, and it's gonna be perfectly fine. But just keep in mind, if you want to use the camera's full power, then this is the mode you're gonna want to be in. Now I'm gonna show you a feature called the floating shutter. This is basically gonna add another shutter button on the screen. So if you're holding the phone like this, for example, maybe you're taking a selfie at a kind of awkward angle, it's gonna make actually taking the photo a lot easier, so you don't have to go like this. You can simply just tap here. So yeah, definitely nice to have. To turn this feature on, what you're gonna do is go to settings, then from here, go down to shooting methods. So right here, then from here, where it says floating shutter button, toggle it on. And now if we go back to the camera, as you can see, there's another shutter on the screen where you can move pretty much anywhere. So again, if we have it like this, taking a picture is going to be a lot easier. Now I'm going to show you how to use enhanced video stabilization. Now by default, when you're in video mode, things are pretty steady and smooth for the most part. But if you're maybe doing like some B-roll or a camera pan and you want things to be real smooth, you can use what's called super steady mode. Now we are in video mode right now, and to activate this, all you have to do is hit this little hand icon right here, and we are in super steady mode. Now keep in mind, this mode does have some limitations. First of all, you are going to be stuck at the 9:16 or 16:9 aspect ratio. So if you were hoping to record in maybe 1:1 or full, keep in mind you can't do that in this mode. And in addition to this, you can only record at 1080p. So if you wanted to record in maybe 4K or 720p, unfortunately, you won't be able to do that in this mode. But aside from that, if you are recording some 1080p B-roll and you want to get some real smooth footage, this is definitely a nice feature to have. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to take a burst shot. Now this is a real easy thing to do. All you have to do is swipe down the shutter like this. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, it's taking up to 30 photos. There we go. And if you go back to the camera, you can see all the takes you got. So definitely nice. And in addition to this, taking a burst shot is actually not the only thing you can do with this. So from the main camera screen, if you go to settings, as you can see right here, where it says swipe shutter button 2, by default, it is going to be on burst shot, but you can also have it create a GIF. So now if we go back to the camera, swipe down on the shutter again. Again, it goes up to 30. And now if we look at the photo, we're going to have a GIF. So definitely a nice option to have. Now I'm going to show you how to change your video resolution. So from the main camera in photo mode, go over to video mode. It will be in 1080p at 30 frames per second, but if you want, you can go to HD or 720p. So if you're not really that concerned about the video quality, but you want to save space, probably not a common thing people are usually going to be doing with this phone, but it's always a good option to have. Then from here, you can go to 1080p at 60, so if you want to get slightly smoother clips, or maybe you're recording a slow motion video, 60 FPS is definitely a good frame rate for that. And then finally, you can also record in 4K or UHD. Ultra HD, that's 4K. And keep in mind, 4K does max out at 30 frames per second. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to show you is a couple different things you can do with the volume keys. Now by default, if you press volume up or volume down, it's going to take a picture or record a video depending on the mode you're in. But we do have a couple different options here. So to change it, go to settings. Then from here, go to shooting methods. So right here. And then from here, go to where it says press volume keys. And again, as you can see, by default, it is set to take a picture or record a video, but you can also have it zoom or control the system volume. So I'm going to do zoom. Then from here, go back to the camera. And now volume up zooms in. And volume down is going to zoom out all the way to the ultra wide camera. But this concludes my camera tips and tricks video for the Samsung Galaxy A34 5G. Again, if you want to learn more about this phone, definitely check out the description, where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Kalibus Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.